Hello, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining in, and good evening to all people that are listening in on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook. We are glad to have you. We're just going to wait a few minutes to allow people join in, and then we shall get right into it. Okay? Okay. This particular webinar is in respect to the Chevening Scholarship, and we shall be delving into the nitty-gritties of how to prepare a successful essays for the Chevening Scholarship 2023. We shall just give some time for more people to join. As we wait for people to join, you could drop a message in the chat to let us know where you're joining in from. So please drop your name and where you're joining in from as we wait for more people to join the conversation. Thanks for joining in, everybody. Please drop your name and where you're joining in from so that we can know who's joining in today. We shall just give it a little more time for more people to join. Anthony from Nigeria, thanks for joining in. Ikechukwu Stanley joining in from Abia State, Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining in as well. Victory Okoparabi joining from Lagos, Nigeria. Thanks for joining in. Please drop your name and where you're joining in from. We also have Ebuka joining from Nigeria. Happy to meet you all. Thanks for joining in. And we have somebody from Zambia, Dixon from Zambia. Thanks for joining in today. We also have someone from Malawi, Harris Banda from Malawi. Thank you for joining in. Please continue dropping your name and where you're joining from. Soko Chisaka from Malawi, thanks for joining. And we have someone from Cameroon as well. Iveta from Cameroon, thanks for joining. Let's continue to drop our names and where we're joining in from. And at exactly 4:05, we shall start the conversation. Thank you very much for joining once again. We have more people joining in. Anthony Edward from Lagos, thank you for joining in. All right, thanks everybody once again for joining in. And I think we have a bit of quorum, and so we are going to get straight into what we've prepared for today. Thank you, Lungano from Malawi, Soko Chisaka from Malawi as well. Thank you for joining the conversation. Okay, so thanks again, everybody, for joining in. Keep dropping your name and where you're joining in from. And today we are going to look at the Chevening Scholarship application for 2023. Thanks, Abayomi, Nigeria, for joining the conversation. If you have not opened the application yet, I would encourage everybody to join the to log onto the Chevening website and actually do start the application. At least the first stages of the application, especially the eligibility, see if you do actually are eligible for this Chevening application. And just to start off, I just want to say, why should anybody apply for the Chevening scholarship? And the Chevening scholarship really is one that is broad in nature. It allows you to choose the course that's right for you from hundreds of courses across the globe, especially if in different aspects. If you are a lawyer, if you're an engineer, if you're a teacher, the Chevening scholarship does cater for each and everybody. And so I would encourage anyone who is interested in further education to consider the Chevening scholarship. It includes even the most prestigious universities in the UK. In addition, it does give you access to lifelong community of leaders from around the globe who you'll have a chance to interact with during the scholarship and even after the scholarship. And so with those reasons why a person should apply for the Chevening scholarship, we shall get right into it. And today we shall presume that every person on this call has actually logged in to the Chevening website and attempted to actually apply or even set up an account, because that's the beginning. You need to set up an account for yourself and pass the eligibility criteria. The eligibility criteria is within the first stages of the application, and you need to be a citizen of a Chevening eligible country or territory. That's all on the website. You must show that you plan to return to your country of citizenship for a minimum of 2 years after your award has ended. You must have completed all the components of an undergraduate degree that will enable you gain entry into a postgraduate program at a UK university by the time you submit your application. And then you should also show that you have at least 2 years of experience. That's an equivalent of 2,800 working hours. And then lastly, you should apply to at least 3 different eligible UK university courses and should show that you have received an unconditional offer from one of these choices by the deadline that is listed on the Chevening website. And so let's get back to the main thing today. Let's have our panelists today introduce themselves. I'm joined by 2 other people. Please let us introduce ourselves.
Yeah, hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in. My name is I'm a Chevening scholar. I was having a scholarship between the years 2015 2016 for a year. So I studied physics under the scholarship. Currently a PhD scholar. I'm back again, but of course now I'm on a different scholarship. They're more or less the same. a certain extent. Yeah. So I will be handling some components of the scholarship process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Precious.
Okay, hello. I'm Precious Ebere from Nigeria. Just finished my Chevening scholarship. I studied at Cardiff University. I currently run DO, and I'm happy to share with everyone my experience and things you need to learn concerning the Chevening scholarship. And I believe that it's going to actually play a critical role as to how you design and write your essay. Yeah, so thank you for having me as well.
Thank you, Precious and Conde, for joining in. And we shall get right into it by looking at the real first essay on leadership and influence. Like I've said, we are presuming that each one of you has actually attempted to log in, create an account with the Chevening website and actually look at what is required. And so we shall spend more time on what is critical, and that's the essays. And I'll just hand over to Conde to look at the leadership and influence essay.
Okay, yeah. So let's go right in. Thank you, Agatha. So the first essay we are looking at is the leadership and influence. So what are they looking for? I think the first important thing to get right from the start is that you need to have a coherent topic, right? You pick a topic, develop it coherently, right? It should be a topic which is related to your experience, your leadership experience. So when we talk about leadership, we're looking at any role you have played where you have led people or guided people in terms of doing something. It shouldn't be something very, I think sometimes when we hear, we see something like leadership, influence, usually you start looking at these Porsche experiences. But I think what is very important here is about your role you played in a situation. So if you are looking at how do you frame your ideas in a logical way, so the first method you need to bring into mind is to look at the concept known as the STAR method. So the STAR method is this is an acronym basically. So the S stands for situation. You pick a situation where you played a role, a leadership role, or you guided, you were the lead or guide, you did some activity in it, you know. So it doesn't need to be the fancy leadership roles we're kind of looking, even just day-to-day experiences where you kind of, even work-wise, school-wise, all those things come into are necessary skills we're looking for as leadership. It's not necessarily to say, oh, I led I was a president of something. No, but what role did you play? Even just simple leadership day to day in the classroom. What did you do in your undergrad program? What did you do in your family? Those things can come in, but the idea is, can you frame it logically and systematically, right? So the first thing you need to start with is understand the STAR method and how to apply it. So the S, like I mentioned earlier, for situation, you need to have a situation where your leadership skills came out, right? Followed by, so once you've analyzed the situation, you have your situation already sorted out. The next item is to look at the task. What task was at hand, right? What tasks did you need to perform in this situation which you have you experienced, right? Yeah, sorry, I've seen the question. So you can ask the questions as it's more for me. I think I want an interactive type of situation. So if you have a question, you can ask, and I can answer it as I'm explaining. So once you've come up with a situation and you have analyzed or kind of isolated the task, the next bit is now the activity. What activity did you do which helped you? There's some feedback. Yep. Okay. So once you have that, you have your task, then you quickly move into your activity. So what activity did you come up with to solve the task? Right. So once you have that, so all these, the bottom line is that they should follow a very cohesive structure. So you start with your situation. From the situation, you go into your task. From the task, you move into your activity. So what activities did you perform in order for you to solve the task at hand? So once you've done that, you have to conclude now with the results or resolution, right? The results. So once you've done all these three steps, the last part is basically just the resolution. How did what was the results from your activity? That's in the conclusion bit. So your essay, strive to make sure that all these things are within a page. It's not automatic that you should have a lot of examples. I think 1, 2, 3 examples are key, where you actually did your performed a leadership role or had an influential position. So for me, I look at a situation where you have, if you are direct from school, you can use an example in your school experience. Then you add an example if you are working already, an example from work as well. Then top it up with just other, what can I say? If you have any other leadership skills you have exemplified in your role in the community as well. So if you have 3 of these, well and good. I think you can develop these into a 400 word essay. So you have, I think, a maximum of 500. So that's a page basically. So you can have all these within a page. So the key, the main takeaway points from here is that you need to use the STAR method. It will help you identify the leadership role. That's the situation. Then once you've identified that, it will help you identify a task which you played in this role. Then once that is identified, it quickly brings you now to the activity. What activity did you actually play? How did you solve this situation which you've already highlighted? And once you've done this, I think everything flows naturally. And the last bit is the resolution or the results. So it's you have your results. What was the outcome from the task? So once that is done, then everything is done. So have 3 at least, but it's not necessary. Have 3 examples. Have 1 example from your university experience, if you have any, but it's not limited to these. You can have several examples. But what is key is that you should be within the word limit. You should be within the word limit. So when they say the maximum word limit is 500, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to 500. You can write 300. What is important is that your essay should be eye-catching. It should be very eye-catching. Remember that people who are going to sift through all these things you are writing, they'll have a lot of applications. I can't remember exactly how many came in last year, but I think I've heard of where the applicants are over 60,000 applicants globally, right? So you are looking at the situation where somebody is looking at, I don't know how many, but they're quite a number. So you need to make sure that your introduction is very on point. your introduction is very on point and is eye-catching. So remember that once somebody reads your introduction and they see that there's something which is pushing, have something which is pulling somebody to want to read further, then you have a higher chance of your application moving forward. And there are multiple people who will be reading at every stage. So there are others who just read the introduction, you know. So have that in mind, that you are competing against a lot of other candidates. So you have to be very, very detailed and eye-catching. So that's on the relationship and influence. Any questions? I've seen there's a question here. What's the difference between the task and activity using the STAR method? So I think here it's not necessarily semantic. It's not a semantical issue. If you look at the task, I would say more or less it's what did you identify as the main. So the situation is more like a problem statement. You identify, okay, here is a problem we have, then how do we sort out the problem, right? That's the task itself. It's okay, for us to sort out this problem, these are the following tasks we need to perform. The activity is the actual doing, right? The actual implementation of the of the task. So the task is just more or less an objective to say, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do that. But the actual implementation of the tasks or the objectives is the activity, you know. And there may be so many activities which are behind the tasks. You can have just one task, but you have multiple activities to solve the overall problem. Hope that's clear. Is it random? Yeah. There's another question. Is how many examples? I think I mentioned that you're not limited on the examples. So what limits you is a word count. Imagine if you have a page, right? You have a page in which you have to put down your thoughts. So that's what is limiting. So what I'm telling you is more or less the what can fit to your page. So if you have so many examples, try to trim them. And at least from my experience, 3 examples are more than enough to fit. Sometimes you may even go over. So just make sure that your examples are trimmed down to 500 words at maximum. If you have got 2 examples, you've got 1 example, see how you can spice it up to at least have a good word count. It doesn't necessarily have to go to 300. What's important is it eye-catching? Is it something somebody, when they read, they will come out and say, okay, this was a good story. But apart from being a good story, it was well written as well, you know.
Thank you, Kangwa, for that elaborate discussion on the leadership and influence. Maybe I just wanted to read something from the reading committee on, they gave just a few pointers on where people went wrong on the Chevening application of 2022. Yes. And they on this particular leadership and influence essay, they said that to score well on this, you need to take note of the following. When demonstrating your leadership skills, try to draw on recent examples from your professional experience. Many applicants had a tendency to use examples from their academic experience, even as far back as their secondary school days. And this is key. Please endeavor to use more recent examples for this essay. Don't bring your primary school examples at this particular point. The other point was some applicants assumed that occupying a particular position or role was in itself sufficient to demonstrate leadership skills, often just listing the various responsibilities they had over the years. So please make sure you take it a step further and explain how you successfully gained and maintained influence and what the outcome was. So it's not just a matter of putting bullet points of I did this, I did that, I was the team lead, but you need to go ahead and show the outcome of that role that you held. Then finally, many applicants were able to clearly define the concept of leadership, but failed to provide examples of how they've exhibited it and how it links to both their study and post-study plans. So please, as you use these clear examples in your leadership and influence essay, you need to support your answers clearly. And I like that the STAR approach, he has ably explained it. And so please, your essays need to show the situation, the task, the action, and the result. And maybe another thing to note, when you're discussing these positions, use I instead of we. Try and make sure that it comes out clearly. If it was a team effort, then focus specifically on what your role was within the team. And thank you so much for that. Please keep using the comment section in case you have a question on this leadership and influence essay. You still have a chance to ask. We shall now move on to the next essay, which is the relationship building and shared learning. If you've logged in and checked the application essay questions, there's this question on relationship building and shared learning. Chevening is looking for individuals with strong professional relationship building skills who will engage with the Chevening community and influence and lead others in their chosen in their chosen profession. Please explain how you build and maintain relationships in a professional capacity, using clear examples of how you currently do this, and outline how you hope to use these skills in the future. Over to you, Kangwa, for.
Yeah. Thank you, Agatha. Let me continue now. So, relationship building and shared learning. I think in simple terms, this is networking. I know most of us. I'm not sure about. But okay, I'm from Zambia. When we hear networking, sometimes, especially from Zambia, it's a concept which seems to be a little bit alien, but we practice this on a daily basis as naturally, but we don't know really that what we're doing is networking, So what are they looking for? They are looking for people who are capable of utilizing their relationships, right? The formal and the informal networks. That's generally what networking is. Sometimes we hear, there's networking events, and we think it's something. Usually, it throws off people sometimes because it's quite a formal word. But in essence, we practice these on a daily basis. How do you harness these networks? How do we use them? I think the first example I would give is like what most of you are actually doing already. I think you've come on the platform to hear about this. Is a form of networking where you're getting information about something and how you can use it, right? And as the Chevening application tries to bring out that process as well, how you can utilize the networks. So you've met people. How do you use them? Remember that as part of the application, you have to engage people to write you recommendation letters. Sometimes you have to go on a personal level and engage people to help you with the actual writing. And I think Chevening tries to bring this out very, very much, actually. How do you reach out to people to help you with the different? So in this component of the essay writing, what is being looked out for is how you have harnessed the different networks you have for you to sort out given problems or certain challenges you've had. How have you used this when certain issues arise? how have you used the networks around you to solve the problem? So if you have, I think the easiest networks most of us easily have, it's more or less the university networks we're in. How do we use those? You know, even in our day-to-day work work-wise, how do you use the networks we developed in the universities? How do we use that? And it comes in quite handy, really, in a lot of if you need something, or somebody who's doing something in a certain area, you can easily pick up a call and talk to them. You can have that one-on-one relationship, or you already have that one-on-one relationship with somebody, and you can utilize it on a professional level as well. And this is what Chevening is looking for, because leadership on its own is good, yes, but without any background or without any foundation around it, which relationship brings, actually, it becomes a little bit docile. So it's a docile type of leadership, or it's a one what's an isolated type of leadership, which usually doesn't easily sort out problems. But when there is a network around a consolidated leadership, you find that a lot of problems can easily be sorted out just with a phone call, and you can move much faster with that. So that's what this component of the essay writing is looking for. How do you bring that out? You can still use the STAR method, right? So you identify a situation where you used networks, right? How did you use this network to solve a problem, right? So as similar to what I had mentioned earlier, you don't need so many, but 2 or 3 examples are very good. And like Agatha reiterated, you don't go so far. Like I had mentioned, if you're just from uni, you can pick some examples from uni. If you're just 2 years in the working in the industry, it makes sense for you to get quite a number of examples from university, right? But you can still use the networks from university, even if you just need to elaborate how you have utilized those, in terms of job searching, hearing about scholarships. How did you hear about some of these scholarships? We hear them from our networks, and how you've managed to circumvent certain work challenges, So they are those things. That's what Chevening wants to hear. So they don't want to hear a generic type of uh, examples. They want something which is your experience, right? They want something which is just unique to you. They will see a lot of these things. So once they hear something which is unique to you, well structured, and very, very what's this? And of course, I think in this manner I've been mentioning the STAR method. I think the sky is the limit. So first things, have a situation, right? Look at your experiences, pick out 1 or 2 or 3 experiences. From those, see what tasks did you do, right? To harness what task did you do? Then how did you utilize your networks in order to solve this task, right? So that's the activity bit. So emphasize on the activity bit. So it's still the same process, but you will find that there will be certain components of these processes will be much more highlighted on certain parts of the essays, right? So just see how you can do the essay bits on the parts which are relevant. So the activity parts, how do you harness the networks for you to solve the problem? And you can briefly talk about the results and how you further, because remember that every time you use your networks, you actually build or strengthen the networks. And one other thing they also want, because Chevening is based on networks, they want to create. So they're looking at people who can give back, right? So this is why the networking component is very important. So what we are doing here as scholars on this scholarship is basically networking. We're giving back. We go back and say, oh, we are sharing our experiences, right? And the Chevening as well wants to harness your experiences later on. So they are looking at people who can show or demonstrate that they work. They are very good at giving back. In the network, they can still go back to the network. They can contribute in the network. That's what they're looking for. So if you can bring that out in your essay, and they will actually write at the end, if you can say how you will actually contribute to the Chevening network as well once you come back. So that also has to be brought out. Mhm. So there's a question.
Just maybe before we go to the question, Kangwa, Precious, do you want to chip in a bit on this part?
Yeah.
All right, let me ask. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I think you really touched on all the significant things, right? So another thing we most persons actually get wrong when writing the networking essay, right, is one, they really don't tell that story. So there is a very big gap between logic and storytelling, right? So while you try to make your story emotional, like they can connect to the emotional part of your journey and still connect to the logical part of your journey, right? In the sense that in networking, it's not always one way where you meet people, because most persons will tell you, oh, I went to a conference, I met someone, and I maintained relationship, and in turn, the person recommended me for an opportunity or so, right? So that's always a one-way traffic where everyone talks about in their essays. But they forget that networking is actually two ways, where people can refer you for opportunities and you in turn, right, give back to people, right? So creating that balance in networking is one thing that's very important. And always ending your story with how the Chevening network would be very instrumental to your journey. Because the reason the asking of this question is to also understand how you would maximize over 50,000 alumni from the Chevening network, who most persons might be doing what you're doing, or have someone who knows someone who is doing what you're doing, right? And also during the Chevening year, you'll be introduced to a lot of networking activities. So they want to know how you would actually use those opportunities wisely, how you would connect with people, right? So that's what they want to see, and your stories should show that, in a sense, right? And in giving in making in writing your answers, right, I would recommend you give two stories, and then the next is talk more about how you would leverage the Chevening alumni, and also talk about how you have seen other scholars, right, attend various Chevening networking events that happens. And there's one in particular that you're very excited about. You can mention that, and that shows that, one, you have done so much research about the Chevening and you understand how good they are when it comes to networking. So that means you're anticipating those events and you're willing to participate, right? Don't see all of those things, right? And that is what really stands your essay out. So because I always tell persons, when you're writing, remember that you have over 50,000 people writing the same essays as you are doing across different countries. For Nigeria, I'm aware that we had over 8,000 applicants answering the same questions that you were answering. So that would mean you have to think critically, you have to think differently. You also have to add different components to your essay. And when you're finished with an essay, ask yourself, what will person A write to this question? What will person B write to this question? And what would I write? So when you get the perspective of what A and B would write, it would influence the way you think about responding to a question. In a sense, I think that's what I want to add to to that particular question. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Precious. Kangwa, we can go to the questions in respect to this part.
Okay, so the first question I've seen on this part, I think there's one which was asked earlier, but I think this one will be tackled in maybe at the end about the universities. But the one necessary to our discussion now, I think it's, Robert asked about if one can go straight to the point, or you need to define the terms first, like what is leadership, or defining relationship, building etc. I would answer it first, I think, by saying that you need to look at it from two sides. The person going to read already assumes that you know what leadership is, and even themselves, they know what leadership is, right? But they don't, that's not what they're looking for, you putting in the definitions and all that. The assumption is that you understand what leadership is, and the person who's going to read also understands leadership. That's already and the underlining what's this scenario. So what else would limit you to, or why I wouldn't advise to include the leadership, the definitions and all that? Just the wording itself, the number of words you have may not necessarily accommodate you adding stuff like definitions, right? And yeah, so basically I think the word count can limit you, unless you don't have anything to write. That's when you start now going all around circles, adding the adding definitions. But I wouldn't really advise going that route. If you know what you're writing about and you clearly understand what leadership is, I don't think you need to put a definition there. Mm-hmm. Then the second question from Random, I think it's on, is it? You've done, I think, does it aligning the roles? So if you have multiple roles, it's what could the easiest way. I can I've done I've written quite a couple of these things, and I've seen quite a number of people write this. I think in the essay it's not, if you're using the star method, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't necessarily have to bunch everything. Like, if you can start with one example, write the situation, write the task, the analysis, and the conclusion. You go to the, so you remember that you're looking at a typical essay has three components, right? The introduction, the main body, and the conclusion. So all these things, you put them in the introduction, in the main body, right? You can phrase them like that, just you know. So in the introduction, you're looking at something which is eye-catching but relevant to what you're writing. Then you can align them, the essays you can align, so the examples or the rows, you can align them one after the other, but find a way that they're flowing as well. Don't just kind of randomize them anyhow. So the idea is that have a very logical flow in your writing. It's very, very key, because it's what makes people want to read on and on your work. Let somebody, when it ends, they're even like, they want to check to flip over the page, but they know that it has ended, but they still feel that they will still want to read some more. So that's my understanding. I don't know what the others can advise from their experience. Agatha.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Maybe I can still go back to what the committee did comment on the last application in respect to this particular essay. They noted that some candidates went in detail about their networking skills, but didn't actually mention any of their networks. So again, like Kangwa mentioned, if you follow the STAR approach, even in this particular section, then you realize that you will have to go into, you will mention the networking skill, but go in detail and mention the actual networks. In the same vein, some candidates spend time describing their ways of networking, but neglect to mention what they have achieved by using their networks. So make sure you always complete the picture, paying attention to the STAR approach, that the result, you need to actually show the result of this particular network you're talking about. And finally, don't forget to link your answer back to Chevening, because I think Precious did mention it, with an impressive alumni network of more than 55,000 people. You should clearly explain how you will engage the global Chevening community to achieve your goals and effect positive change. Please keep dropping your questions in the comment section. We shall go in detail to answer each and every question. And once again, thank you for joining in. We shall continue with the other essay that is required, and that is the studying in the UK essay. This one says, outline why you have selected your chosen 3 university courses and explain how this relates to your previous academic or professional experience and your plans for the future. Please enter new information and examples here, and do not duplicate the information you have already entered on the work experience and education section of this form. If you have actually created the account, the first, after the eligibility and the there's the second, there's the third, which has your work experience and education section. They're saying do not duplicate the information you have already put there. So Precious will go in detail to shed more light on what is expected on this particular section of the essay. Precious, over to you.
All right, thank you for bringing me up again. Before I go into this particular question, I would want to raise some few add-ons. I understand that ChatGPT is out and everyone is making use of ChatGPT, so it's very easy for you to copy your responses, paste it, and then it gives you some response that looks like it, and then you're tempted to just copy and paste as your particular response, right? I would advise, I wouldn't say use or don't use it. I'll tell you, write your essays from your heart, let it flow, tell those stories yourself. And even when you post them on ChatGPT or any paraphrasing tool, it could, and it gives you your response. You can still rephrase it by your own lines, because I think why this tech platforms are already they're already aware of these platforms, and they are already getting bots that would detect, AI's writing. So you don't want to fall into a victim where your essays get sieved away because your essays is being detected as AI written. I just wanted to add that, Then back to our question, why the UK? So in that question, it has different sub where it spoke about what the courses you are applying for, why you chose those schools, and why you really want to study in the UK. Now, first thing first, I will advise you to understand the 3 schools that you want to select. Now, these schools should be partners with Chevening. So on Chevening's platform, you're going to see a list of schools different schools that are partnering with Chevening, right? So you want to go and look out for those schools and then select 3 courses. Now, when you're selecting 3 courses, right, remember you have established some stories in your leadership essay, in your networking essay. Remember that. Don't forget that. And they want you to actually still, and remember, you also told them what you're passionate about. For example, myself, I told them, I'm passionate about bridging educational inequalities in underserved communities. Now, you will not expect me to now choose a course in engineering, given that I'm really passionate about education. They want to see you select a course in line of your passion. So the question is, what have you told them in your story? What story have you built? And like my previous speaker spoke about being coherent. So it's a thread of story for you, understanding your journey, and that should also reflect in the schools you are selecting. Now, when you're selecting 3 schools, right, and then you're selecting the courses. Now, these courses should be similar. As a policy advocate and analyst, I'm an educational specialist. I can't select a subject in policy and then the next choice in engineering and the next choice in education. No, that's off. So they must have something. The 3 courses you're selecting must be related. So for me, my 3 courses were, one in education policy and governance. The second choice was in social and public policy. That was Cardiff University, and my third one, which was Bristol, was education and good governance. So you can see that these courses are related, right? They had a bit of education and policy in it because I told them I'm passionate about education and the role of policy and data, the role it plays in transforming education in undeserved communities. So you can see that my passion is also in line with the courses I chose. Now, do not forget that. That's very important because that is also part of the things they look out for when they are assessing your application. Now, the next point now, why did you select these schools? Why did you select these schools, and why did you select the course? So is the school and the course. And remember, you have just 500 words to summarize all of this. So you're not in to start defining what is the course and all of that. You don't have that time to start defining the course, right? So what you need to do is, yes, go to the platform, do your research about the course, do your research about the school. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
We can hear you. You dropped off a
Yeah.
bit, but yeah.
Okay. I think it's my network. So back to the why the school and the course, right? So it's okay for you to go to the course, the school platform, and then understand what the school is about, their reception to international students, and also the course. And then in your own words, right, talk about how that course in particular would help you achieve your passion and your goal. Like I said, we're telling a story, and the story must be coherent. So everything still ties to your passion. How it's going to help you achieve your passion, your goal as well. And then, you need to tell this story in a way that it tells your reader that you understand what this course will do for you. You understand how this school operates in this course. Tell them about the lecturers, that like lecturers you look forward to seeing. For me, I told them, you know what, that my first choice was it Bristol? And I told him about a particular lecturer that I researched about in that faculty, and how the lecturer's project really amplifies my long-term goal in writing a policy brief on a particular topic. That means I'm not just going to the school because I want to go to that school. I'm going to school because I connect with the school. I understand how the school's processes. I understand their lecturers. I understand the sub units that I would find myself in. Remember, you spoke about your networking essays. Now, this is time where you slip in some silent points into your essays. I told you about a particular club in the school which I want to belong to, because I want to expand my knowledge. I want to make new friends that will help me achieve my goals. So everything was still tying to my long-term goal, my long-term vision, and my passion. So you can see that I'm not just telling you about the school. Oh, this is Bristol or this is Cardiff University, and they have this course. It is going to help me get new jobs in the UN. Nah, it's quite weak. It doesn't show a strong tie to the school. They want to see how you are connected to that school, and then remember you have other schools that you are going to still write about. You know, now, like I said when I was giving my previous feedback, a lot of person will talk about school ranking. Oh, you know what? My school is ranked first, second, third. You know, a lot of person will talk about that. Now, you don't want to talk what you don't want to say what majority of people would say. I always say this: do not say what majority of people would say. Say things, think differently. Now, in thinking differently, it's going to also amplify how and what you say as well. You know, that's one. That's about answering that question. And remember, that's not all the question there. Is this the sub question there is, okay, why the UK? That's the first question. But then yeah. Okay, let me see it again. Okay, yeah. Remember the tag is studying in the UK. So you still want to tell them how studying in the UK, right, still helps you achieve your overarching goal. Where first, it will amplify your networking, because you're going to involve yourself in the rich culture of the UK. You know, they want to know what they want to hear, how what you know about the UK and how receptive the UK is. And then it's a place where you also tie some of your long-term goals, even though it's not here, right? So tie it, because that's what I also did as well. Those silent marks, because it tells you that, one, you understand the culture of the UK, the multicultural the multicultural diversity in the UK, and how you intend to thrive. You know what you anticipate already. You know, I also mentioned, and like I said, do not duplicate your responses. You know, from your work experience, and also say connect what you're doing to your. You remember you already submitted your CV to Chevening. They have your CV. So you're not just copying and pasting stuff from your CV, right? You're saying your story and exactly the way it connects to your overarching goal, in a sense. I think that's how I responded to my essay. And I think it's quite strategic because it's smart. You know, our first speaker spoke about having your smart goals, right? So it connects to everything, because you're marking the T's and the dots to all of these questions. Because if you don't answer it this way, you'll see that you would go over the words, like you exhaust your 500 words, and yet you have not established the main point that you want to leave. And in summary, right, always end your essay to how this would achieve this Chevening would help you achieve your goals. For every essay, don't just answer your essays and leave it at that. Always end with how Chevening would help you achieve those courses and tie to your long-term goals and vision. Let's say you want to, for me, I want to be a policy analyst, right? Now, I'm going to end my essay with attending with Chevening, right? I believe that my future goal of being a policy analyst will be achieved because I'm going to be learning from key experts in these key universities I have chosen. So you see, I had to tie it back to Chevening. Chevening wants to see how relevant they play in every choice you make and every decision you make along the way. So that's how I would respond to that question. And I believe that this will also influence your response to that question. And I think that's it for now. Yeah, thank you. And I'm happy to answer subsequent that come along.
Thank you, Precious. We do have some questions already. One, I ask that you address some now. There's one from Random Speech. He stroke she says, in this section, I exclusively have provided details of just one university. The reason is because I already have an offer and attended all required conditions, should I have to add 2 more universities?
Yeah, so Ragnar, if this question that you have not read and what Chevening is asking, your question just tells that, but Chevening is telling you to highlight 3 universities and 3 courses, and you're choosing one. That means you're already on your way to, your essay will not even be reviewed.
Uh,
It's,
I,
yes.
I, would- I would disagree.
No, hold on. No. Chevening is saying, hold on. Chevening is telling you that select 3 universities, selecting 1 university.
In my
So,
case, I selected one university and I got the scholarship.
no, hold on. Chevening scholarship.
Yeah.
So, wait. Go back to the question.
Yes. So he's saying
No. Go back to the Chevening question.
yes, I've seen this question. And it was there even the time I was applying.
So,
Yeah.
they say select 3. And I wouldn't advise anybody, trust me, I wouldn't advise anybody to do. So maybe your story might be very, I don't know what story you told, right? So
Yeah.
I would advise anyone applying, follow the instructions. You
Yeah.
might be lucky, right? So if you selected 1, you might be lucky, but they might not be lucky. So Chevening told you, yeah, select your 3 university of courses and explain how this relates. They said 3. It's simple instruction. So if you selected 1, right, and you are selected, I don't know why. It could be luck, right? It could be luck. So I would advise anybody applying for Chevening. It's quite competitive. Select 3 and explain how that 3 will help you achieve your goal. I don't want to tell you, oh, you can choose 1 and that's fine because somebody got it. No. They said 3, so follow 3. Stick with the 3 and explain how. Yeah.
Thanks, Precious. I agree with you. I think that applicants should follow the instructions to the dot. You don't want to be unsuccessful because you fail to follow the instructions. Let's go to the next question. Is it advisable to select 1 course in 3 different universities?
Yeah, to answer that question, you cannot get an exact course. So, for example, now, right, you can get similar courses from 3 different universities. Yes, you can get that. But the same course, even the schools, right, do not offer that. The schools will not offer exactly the same line. Let's say social and public policy, you now go. It will be something different, but still similar. So you can select similar courses. That's fine. So you can still be, let's say, for example, now you're going for policy as I did. You can select policy and governance, policy and society, policy and education. So you can see policy is constant. So it can be similar, yes. But and if you still see the same course in 3 different universities, like exactly line by line or word by word, you can still select them, you know. But I would advise you, right, make them a bit similar, not the same. My own, that's my advice for you.
Kangwa, you can chip in case you have something to add. But there's a question from Tony. How do you find a university when you only know the course that you want to apply for?
Okay. So before I started, I made reference to share some partnering universities Chevening has. So I think I'll share the link to where you can find those universities. So you can just look out for universities. I can recommend some universities if I know your course of interest. We have some schools that are very good on some particular places. For example, Cardiff University is good with policy. For development, what's this name of this school again? Success is good on development. Leeds, Leeds is good on IT. Which other university again? IT related courses. Then which other university again? So I can't remember them. So we have different universities and the area of expertise. That's where research comes in. right? Just go to Google and ask Google what university has so strength in policy, education, advocacy. It's going to pop out different universities. So when you go to those universities, you can still go back to Chevening platform and see if these universities are partners with the Chevening network. Then if the partners, then you can now go further and see if they have your course of interest. If they don't have your course of interest, you can move over to the next school and the next school. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Kwangwa, do you want to chip in here as well?
Hello.
Kindly unmute. You're muted.
So I was muted. So like Precious has advised, there are quite a number of sites where you can find information about different universities and their rankings and courses they offer. I think some universities, I can't remember offhand, but there should be a site called Find a Masters. So if you can jot it down, findamasters.com. You can find the program by even the ranking of the program in a specific university. So usually to bring out, once you put your program, the program you're looking for, or something close to what you're looking for, it will give you a list of those. And I think it also rank the courses by the ranking of the courses in the relevant universities. So that can also is quite helpful. Go to the specific universities. Also, check the course outline and have a feel of the course outline. So for different universities have a different flair of their courses. The courses are more or less, there's always something different between two different universities. Within the same university, you can find similar courses as well being offered. Not necessarily that they can be, they will find, you find that within the same department, or even just different department, they have just changed one or two things. So see what you're looking for. So what is important now is not necessarily saying, oh, I want psychology. You look at what courses. I think there's that flexibility here where you have different variations which can suit your needs, so you may find others who add something else apart from just so if you look around, you will find something which actually answers to what you're looking yourself. What do you want? What are you looking for? Yeah. So you have that so it's quite important before you start to actually find the university and the course you want. Then just to go back, like Precious said, follow the instructions. Follow the instructions. Make sure that if they say 3 universities, unless there's a reason why you don't want to put 3, like in my case, put 3. Make sure you follow the rules. Sometimes that can be a technicality which can knock you out. But depending on how you've put other things in place, you may find that you may still manage to go through. And there are different scenarios which are not the same for everyone in essence, but just make sure that you do everything, all the rules they have put forward, you've ticked those boxes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There's still more questions coming in, and we shall get into all the questions. And I just wanted again to go back to the reading committee comments on this particular portion. This part is important to know some of the errors that were made in the last application cycle. It's just advisory, really. They're saying that make sure you go into detail about all the 3 courses in your answer, clearly explaining how they relate to both your past experience and future plans. Some candidates only focused on one course or provided sweeping statements about all the 3. So this goes back to what everyone has emphasized. Kindly follow the instructions. If they have said choose 3, university courses, please choose 3 university courses. And I think the Chevening website has a course finder. So you use it to find the different courses. Sorry, you use it to find related courses in different universities. So please follow the instructions. Then secondly, don't just cut and paste from the university websites, and avoid relying on the university and course rankings as a reason to select a course. I think Precious ably explained this part. Everybody shall go online and look at the course ranking or the university ranking, and that will be the reason they are choosing a university. So please don't be part of those. You need to give tangible reasons why you're choosing this particular course. And then finally, focus on the content of the courses you have selected. And I think Precious went into detail about this. Look at the modules, look at the assessments, and how this will help you to achieve your goals. Many candidates cited local attractions and football clubs as the rationale for why they wanted to study at a particular university. But we want, the Chevening scholarship wants you to think deeper than just saying you're choosing the University of Manchester because you are a Manchester fan and so you want to be close to your stadium, really. So think deeper and look at the course content, the modules, the lecturers in the different universities to support this particular essay. Maybe Precious and Kangwa, you could come in to answer some of these remaining questions. Maxon is saying, please, what for us that have not received any admission? How best can we choose the 3 best universities?
Okay, I can tackle this. So I guess you haven't really gone through the timelines. So Chevening has a timeline, and each timeline has a certain requirements you need to fulfill by that timeline. So admissions, you do not necessarily need to have a confirmed admission by the time you submit your application. Usually, there will be a time you'll be told you need to have a confirmed and unconditional offer prior to the scholarship being given to you. And that usually happens way later on. So there are different stages. You need to familiarize yourself with those stages. So you do not need, right now, you do not need to worry so much about having the admissions. You can look at the universities which you want for now. So if you say, I want this course from Oxford, I want this other course from Newcastle, I want this other course from, these are the universities I'm looking at. You can have those universities, put them in your application. You do not need to have an admission yet. Even by the time you submit that, the deadline for application deadline comes, you do not need to have admissions for that. So once you are shortlisted for interviews, that's another timeline. You will be asked if there are any changes or any new information. Even I think while you are still waiting for this process, after application, the platform is still open for you to make changes to the universities. So you can still make changes and upload offer letters on the platform while the process is still ongoing for shortlisting for interviews. At the interview stage, you will still be given an opportunity to update the panel on your choices. Right? You'll still be given an opportunity to update the panel on your choices. If there are any changes you've made to say, oh, maybe I removed, I applied to this other university, it wasn't on the initial list, but I've gotten an offer from it, and I want this university to be on the list. You can still make those changes, and you can inform the panel, and they will make those changes for you, right? Such that by the time you are getting a confirmation, now when you get a response back from the interview panel to say, oh, you've been chosen now. Actually, they call it, what word is that? Not necessarily. Agatha, what do they say? You are conditionally.
Conditional award.
Yeah, you are conditionally awarded. So once you're given that conditional award, there are certain things you need to meet prior for the scholarship to change from conditional to a,
Final.
a final award. So what the first condition you need is to have a confirmed non-conditional offer from a university. One of the, and those universities should be the three you have chosen. It doesn't matter the order, but one of them should be a confirmed. It doesn't also matter if you only get from one university. So once you have one of those, then you now submit that offer to Chevening. They will process that offer, and that's a university they will pick for you to say, oh, okay, this is a university you are going to. And they will start negotiating between them and the university. There are situations where they say, okay, maybe this university is not a very good university for you. They can make changes, but usually it's just within those that framework. If they do make those changes, it's very rare though, but it does occur. But it's from their end, not from your end. So you don't need to worry right now about that. For now, just choose the universities you need, you like, and you can explain why you like them, and have those listed in your application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kangwa. We shall continue to address all your questions. In case you have a question, please drop your question and we shall look at it. I just want us to move into the final essay, which is the career plan essay. This essay is looking for is looking to see individuals who have a clear post-study career plan. Please outline your immediate plans upon returning home and your longer-term career goals. You may wish to consider how these relate to what the UK government is doing in your country. I think there was someone who asked about whether you can get all these essays at once and then upload them later. If you've been able to actually create an account on the Chevening website, this is very possible. You create your account, you go into the essays, you see the essays, you pick, you copy and paste them in a Word, and then you first draft your essays outside the application portal. Because the whole idea is to refine these essays, have someone peer review them before you eventually submit them. So yes, it is possible. You go and create your account, reach the part of essays, see the different essays, copy the questions, paste them in a different Word document, and write these essays, because you need to see the word count. And this is best done outside the portal. Precious, over to you on the discussion about this particular essay.
All right. For career plan, okay. So for your career plan, this is one critical essay that you must really write, and it more like summarizes your journey in a sense. You know why I say it summarizes your journey? Remember, we started from leadership. From leadership, we went into networking. From networking, we went into the why your cost plan of your cost choice. That's why studying in the UK, and then your networking, your career essay. Now, remember, you have started telling a story from the beginning. They want to see where all of this ends, in a sense. They want to see your ability to dream big, because the UK government, right? They're looking out to breed leaders who would have a role to play in their society, right? And then they want to see how much of a leader you are and how it influences your career choice. So what do you want to do? Why all of this journey? Why really are you going for these courses? Where's the end point? Right. So here, right, you can dream so big. It's okay to dream so big, but the problem is how realistic are those dreams? So for me, right, I started first with painting a small story, a small need analysis of the educational system in Nigeria. Remember, I told you I was passionate about education, right? In my leadership essay, and have been giving you stories of my leadership triumph in different essays. Now back to my career plan. I started with painting the small need analysis surrounding my area of concentration, right? And then I now painted how being a minister a minister in my country in the educational line would help me solve that particular problem. Now, what problem am I trying to solve? I painted that I wanted to actually create a data-driven approach, a data policy-driven approach to solving educational divide in Nigeria. That was the story. That was the solution I painted. So now my future career plan, which is being the Minister of Education, would afford me that capacity to influence or solve this problem in this area. So of course, currently, what am I doing? I told them that currently I am building my organization, and I know that in the next 4 or 5 years, right, I'll be doing this, which will give me more momentum to serve in that ministry capacity. Now, I told them what I'll be doing for my first to second year, my third to sixth year, and my 6 to 10 years. So I broke them down. So, and this is very important. Some person will tell you that, I want to do this. I want to become the Senate president. And I know I'll be a Senate president in the next 10 years. So now the question of your assessor is going to be, how do you want to get here? They want to see a clear roadmap as to what you will do to get there, as to how these studies, right, how the course you're currently studying would give you that blueprint to achieve that big dream. So it's not okay for you to just say what you want to achieve, your career plan, and end it there, right? You have to take it further and give them the pattern, right? Your short-term goal, your mid-term goal, and your long-term goal. Your long-term goal could be where you now achieve that particular dream you want to achieve, right? So that is how I did I was very careful about when I painted the scenario, the need analysis, and then the solution I'm trying to bring, and then my plan, like where I see myself, in that room, leading policies that would address educational the data divide in Nigeria and the policy divide in Nigeria as well. So that was all listed out. When I painted that big dream, I then told them what I'll be doing in the next 10 years. So I broke them down, and they could clearly see that if I follow this pattern, I would achieve my big dream. And the truth is, currently, I'm still working through that same pattern. I came back from Chevening, right? I'm currently I'm building into a community of active change makers who are actually taking action to solve problems in their community. I'm leading the policy divide. I currently work with the Commonwealth as the coordinator for the Commonwealth Student Association. All of these things are putting me on the table where I contribute to international policies. I consult for organizations. I give policy analysis. I write articles on policy. I provide data directions, and you can see my trajectory is leading me to that path. And currently, when you talk about education in Nigeria, right, I think I have a say. And of course, it's time for young people to take over governance. And when that time comes, I have all the skills, because when I studied social and public policy, I have the network I have gathered over the past 2 years after I was coming back from Chevening. I'm building myself to be qualified when that vacancy portrays itself. And that is what Chevening wants to see. How well do you tell that story, that connecting story of your career, that big picture that you want to achieve? How well are you telling that story? So you can summarize all of these stories in 500 words. And remember, I always talk about storytelling, connecting emotions and logic. I know some people say, oh, both do not exist, but I have found a hack to connect emotions and logic, because at the end of the day, these are not robots reading your essay. These are human beings reading your essays. They're human beings who have emotions, who are also logical thinkers, you know. And you want to balance that. You want to tell them that you want these guys reading these essays to connect to your story, to connect to that big dream that you have for yourself. You want them to connect. And that is where adding these two elements play a critical role in telling a very strong story, strong career story. And the next thing I want to add is add data to your storytelling. Data is simply numbers, statistics. What are the numbers saying? You know, yeah, I think I skipped something. Yeah, I skipped something which I would add. I skipped something when I was addressing the why study in the UK. I'll add that now. Now, for every country, right? The UK government is currently doing something in your country. And before the UK metamorphosed into um um what's that word again? You know, it was previously DFID. So when you go to DFID platform, right, you'll see different works the UK government is doing in your country, in Namibia, in Sierra Leone, in Ghana, in Nigeria. You'll see all of those things. Now I can't really remember what the exact website, but I'm going to check my browser and send it to the organizers to share with you guys. So you have to go back and check what the UK government is doing in your country, and how and those priority areas are very important to add in your um why the UK essay and your career plan. You know, for me, right, when I went to the DFID platform, right, I saw what the UK currently was doing in terms of policy, in terms of literacy and numeracy skills. You know, I had to fit what they're doing. I had to fit, like, connect what they're doing to my future plans and why I'm also studying in the UK. I told them that, you know, my also goal, my second goal is to amplify the work the UK government is doing in this particular area. So I mentioned that area. It's very important because the UK every year, every country has a priority area that they are focusing on. You know, and you don't want to skip that. It's very, very important. If there's nothing you take away from my explanation, take away that you must go and understand the priority areas the UK government is doing in your country, and then pick a particular project that you will talk about. You know, I spoke about how I'm going to solidify the UK Nigeria relationship when it comes to that particular project. I mentioned that. So they're seeing, oh, I'm seeing a future diplomat in this essay. Someone who will help the UK, who will amplify the work of the UK in Nigeria, who will solidify the diplomatic relationship with Nigeria, between Nigeria and the UK. You know, you can also highlight that. So in my summary, I also buttressed how I would solidify the relationship between the UK government and Nigeria when it comes to producing policies that addresses key areas in education in Nigeria, which amplifies the long-term goal of the UK government. So you can see that I'm also highlighting a shared common interest between the UK government and Nigeria and myself. So they want to see that you're a leader who critically thinks about the long-term objectives just the way they think. They want you to think in their capacity. The UK, the West generally think long-term. You know, they want to see that capacity. Like, how do you see, like, what role do you play in solidifying the relationship between the UK government and your country? They want to see that. And all of this can be told in your why study in the UK and your career plan essay. Now, in the end, like I say, always end with how your career fits into the UK government's priority area. Now, if you want to know more about how your career plan essay
We've lost you, Precious. Kindly unmute.
Yeah. So for me, that makes career plan essay. And if you add all of these elements, now the question you might ask is, how do I compress all of this? Now, how I write my essay is, first, right, I just tell the story of my future career, what I want to do. I first start with the need. It could be scattered first, but once I follow that pattern, I then go back and then rearrange my essay to follow this exact pattern. Because first you need to pour out what's on your mind. Just say it. So how you tell your friends, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Just write it like that. How you tell this essay to your friends, write it like that. Your first draft, even though it's not clean, write those gibberish like that. Write your plans. Once you're done with your first draft, then the next draft now you're thinking critically on how you're answering all the sub questions in this. By so doing, you have a comprehensive response with your exact word count. Yeah, thank you very much. You could add to it.
Thank you, Precious. Thank you, Precious, for that elaborate discussion on the career plan essay. Mr. Kango, would you want to chip in and add your voice to what has been said?
Not necessarily. Elaborately. Yeah.
Okay, so several questions have come in, really, some not in relation to this particular part, but we have a question from Daniel. He's saying, can social media accounts influence your application process? Also, do you upload documents as proof in your application process? Really, any one of us can take the question.
Okay.
You can go ahead,
Precious.
All right.
Ladies first.
I would say that I always tell persons, right, leave digital footprints, right? Leave digital footprints. They are very important. If employers who are trying to employ staff in the organization go to news feeds, your social media, Twitter, Facebook, and just to understand the kind of person you are, how you think, and all of that, that will tell you that these guys also would do that. They might not tell you necessarily, oh, I'm going to social media platform, but I think they go. And also wise, this is what I also do. It's a hack I do as well. If I'm applying for any opportunity, any grants, or any funding, right? I always go back to my social media platform and tell stories in that light, because it has a lot of influence. You can imagine, right? I twerk, right? I'm someone who likes twerking on social media, dancing and goofing on social media. Or let me say you are a boss, and you want to hire somebody in your organization, and the person sends you CV, and then you say, okay, let me just check out this person on social media. And then you go and see the person twerking, goofing, doing love things. Will you hire don't judge the book by the cover. I know that phrase, oh, you don't judge the book by but we have sentiments. Sentiments might come in. Do you understand me? It's okay if you don't have any social media accounts. Yes, they can still select you. They don't judge you by you having social media account or not. I have a friend who was not visible on Twitter, on any social media platform, but she got Chevening. She was not on any platform. She doesn't own any social media platform, but she got Chevening. But it's another thing that you have a social media platform, and when you go there, you don't portray the life of a leader. That's and these are platforms where Chevening are strong. They are strong on Twitter. They're strong on Instagram, and you don't know if the panel who will be interviewing you, right, would go to your social media platform. So you don't want to be in that place where your social media platform is saying totally different from what's on your essay. Remember, networking essay is there. So you can network both virtually and physically. So there's a lot of connection. So I'll just advise keep your social media clean. You You can have if you want to really goof, you can change your name to something else and be goofy, leave your but then I think it has an influence. I think, right? So whatever I say does not replicate what the Chevening or the UK government stands for. It's solely my own thoughts. So I think, right, it has an influence. It might not, but for me, I think, because when I'm hiring people for my organization, I also go to the social media platform and really understand who they are to make my own decisions. So they play a critical role as well. Yeah. So for uploading documents as proof, right, what I do is in my essays, I add links. I add links to some of the stories I'm telling. So just for them to go and verify if they really want to verify, and I think that's it. So you could still do that as well. You can add to this response, answering this question.
Mr. Kangwa, do you want to add anything to his question?
Yeah, I think I can chip in a bit. I think it's very vital for one to have a supposedly clean social media profile, especially if you are intending to apply for these things. But it's not a must that you need to have a social media presence. But if you have one, try as much as possible to make it clean. I think these days it's something which can, if you have a social media platform, it's something which can adversely affect you if you don't use it well. And I think this is what also Chevening tries to highlight, even as you become a scholar. Like whatever you have on your profile can be indirectly referred to Chevening, in essence. So I think what they want is to have a positive image, and they're looking for people who can enhance their positive image. So try as much as possible to have already a positive. You don't want to associate with somebody who's seemingly has a negative social media presence as well. So try as much as possible clean it up if you can. But it's not a must that you need to have a social media presence for you to be given the scholarship. It works if it's positive, but it's not something. But
Sorry.
it's out of now. I've sat on a panel before, and we're interviewing somebody, and I think sometimes you quickly check their usual LinkedIn. You check their LinkedIn to verify what you've put. Remember that people can easily check. So make sure that whatever you're putting down in your application is easily verifiable on platforms like LinkedIn, especially if you've said, oh, I was at this place, I was at this place. It's very easy for people to check. Even while they're interviewing you, people will get online and check these things prior to you coming in. So make sure that everything you've said is collaboratable and is true and verifiable. Yeah. So it can work against you or it can work for you, but it's not necessarily a must that you need to have a social media presence.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kangwa. I just wanted to also re-echo the reading committee's comments on the career plan essay. When it comes to career planning, ambition is great, but make sure you have an achievable plan of how you get there. And I think Precious went into detail in explaining how her career plan essay did elaborate on that. The strongest responses included specific and measurable goals. You don't want to have an essay that is just hypothetical, and it needs to show how you're getting to your long-term goals. So it would be great to have like your short-term goals, your medium-term, and then eventually your long-term goals. Don't forget to think about the role the Chevening network will play in helping you achieve your career goals. specifically what doors the Chevening scholarship will open for you. Just to add to all the comments that have been made on the social media, don't operate a social media platform that is really maybe derogatory or abusive. You know, you need to show that you're a leader in every capacity, and so you cannot be having a social media platform where you're definitely not exemplifying leadership qualities, and then you come and have an essay where you're portraying yourself to be an excellent leader. You have to be one person, not two different personalities. We shall continue to address your questions, but maybe I just wanted to comment that for the Chevening scholarship, really, preparation is very key. Don't wait until the second last day of the cycle to actually start on your essays. You need to prepare for this scholarship, and for you to get the best chance of actually being awarded, you need to put in time and effort. You have to write these essays, proofread them, have someone actually read through and you know, critique some of the approaches you've made. The deadline, again, I think we need to remind the people listening in about the deadline. The application cycle opened on the 12th September, and it shall be running until the 7th of November of this year. The application is for this year, but the studying is for next year. So that is important for you to know. You apply this year, but then you're awarded for the following year, which is 2024, 2025. There is a question about does Chevening give PhD scholarships? Kangwa, Precious, please, one of you can pick up this particular question.
Let me pick this one up. I would say, I think, let me start maybe by just digressing a little bit. So Chevening has different scholarships for different countries, and it means generally that the scholarships are dependent on the country where you are. I know there are countries where they can access PhD scholarships for under Chevening, but the majority of the countries, you do not have this access. I think in Africa, we do not have any country which gets Chevening PhD scholarships. There may be just a reserve for, is it Australia and Canada, I think. I'm not very sure, but you can check. So when you go on the application platform, it requires that you put your country. So once you put your country, then you do a drop-down menu. There's a drop-down. It will tell you the scholarships available for certain countries. So I think for my country, Zambia, I think we have 2 scholarships available. There's a master's scholarship and there is a fellowship. It's open. So a fellowship is a little bit different. It's not a PhD per se. It's just a short, should be 3 to 6 months fellowship on specific areas. You don't necessarily have to have a PhD for you to access it, but you need to have an ongoing project you're working on in a specific area. And you can apply for that to come and get some extra training in the UK. But other countries have PhD under Chevening. But most countries in Africa, I'm aware of, do not have PhD under Chevening. So usually, the closest you can apply in the UK under a UK government scholarship for PhD, I think for most countries, it's Commonwealth, if you are under the Commonwealth.
Okay, thank you so much, Kangwa, for that. Precious, I think this is within your docket. What are the typical admission requirements for universities in the UK, and how competitive is the application process? That's Maneno asking.
Hello.
Oh, yes. Hi, Precious. Can you hear us now?
Yeah. And so that's right, for different schools or universities differs, you know. For one consistent thing is, and you must have your transcript from your university, and then a cover letter, and then your university certificate, right? Your degree certificate, your undergraduate certificate. So some universities might ask you for an application fee, and you could apply for a waiver. Some schools will also ask you for your IELTS. You know, some universities requirements actually differ. For my school, they asked me to pay my application fee. I wrote for a waiver, and I also wrote for an IELTS waiver as well. And I only submitted my transcript, my cover letter, and my university certificate. That's my undergraduate degree. So these are the three documents I submitted, you know. And then they will ask for reference. What get two references, one from your school or one from anybody. So you can just get those two references. So this could differ in terms of different university, but these three things are constant. Every university must ask for your transcript, your undergraduate degree certificate, and then a cover letter. These three are constant across universities. Others are add-ons. Other add-ons like IELTS, add-ons like application fee. These are add-ons. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. There's another question from Rike about, do you think not having any publications yet could be a strong disqualifying condition for the application?
Oh, I don't think so. Who wants to answer? Do you want to answer?
Okay. I think at masters they're not really looking at
Yes.
the research component that much. I know for PhD this comes in quite handy, but for masters, I don't think that's one of the. I don't think there's even a part where you have to include your publication, so it's not really a must. And I think just to add on what Precious said on the is it the waiver for Chevening for IELTS. I understand, I think for, is it the last 2 years? I'm not sure. There was that waiver. I'm not sure if it's still on. Agatha, I'm not sure if that's still on. What I'm
No,
aware, yeah,
it's not one of the requirements this year.
this year. Okay. So I think in most, during my time, I think that it was quite a very stringent requirement. Even Chevening themselves, they needed that. There was no way around it. But I know, I think most countries have been trying, especially the ones, is it Anglophone? They have been trying to push against that. Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you, Kango. I think that also answers Satyam's question. Whereas there's a waiver for the scholarship, you need to look at the specific universities, the 3 universities that you're applying to. The waiver of the English exam is specific to the university. So you need to check out what your 3 university requirements are and ensure that you have the unconditional offer once and when it is required come next year. I have seen situations where someone actually did get the award but failed to get an unconditional offer from any of the 3 universities. So once again, we advise that as you start on your application for the scholarship, kindly identify the 3 universities and, if possible, start the application as well in respect to your university admissions. And like I said, someone did get the scholarship and they were not able to secure any unconditional offer from any of the 3 universities they had listed. And really, that would defeat the purpose of why you are actually applying for this particular scholarship if you fail to secure a university admission. So let's go to someone again asked about the STAR approach. Kangwa, do you want to go into the details about the STAR approach again? I think someone joined late. You could just
yes,
briefly, you know.
the STAR approach or method is just a technique one can use to put across a strong argument. You can use it even in the interview orally. You can also use it in written form. So what it does is it structures your argument, right? It structures your argument in a very cohesive and coherent manner. So what does it do? It first looks at, so the S is an acronym. So the STAR itself is an acronym. S stands for situation. So it's a situation analysis. So you look at the situation, then after you've identified a situation. So if you're looking at, so like what we're talking about, let's say leadership, you identify a situation where you acted as a leader. Remember, I think in the discussion earlier, it was mentioned that it's not just putting a position to say, oh, I was the boss, I did this, I did that. No, it's what they're looking for is a situation where you acted as a leader. So where you played a part, a leadership role, which actually with examples, not necessarily just putting a role. It's very most times, I think, which was noted also by the leaders, by the readers, that many applicants were putting forward roles, the role they hold at workplaces, and I've reviewed quite a number of applications as well. You see people putting their positions, if it's in school, but not necessarily putting and they'll put what that role entails. But that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for situations which made somebody actually act as a leader. So it's a method. So the STAR method, it's a STAR method or approach. It's just a method which helps you strategically and logically put down your argument for a certain case. So if you say, oh, I'm a leader, can you bring out a situation where that leadership quality was shown in your life? Then once you've done that, the S is a task. What task did you bring about, right? To solve that situation which you've identified. Then after that, you look at the activities which you did, right? In order for you to to tackle the tasks you've identified as well. Then after that, you just put across the results. How were the results? What was the outcome? Results or outcome, basically. So R is results or resolution. So it's just a tool which is used to systematically put up an argument or to put up a situation analysis in a given scenario. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kangwa, for that. Someone did ask for the website. We've posted it there for you to check out the website. Someone is asking, is it possible to defer if eventually you got, but you need to sort out things and needed more time? That is very possible. Personally, I did defer. I was awarded 2020, 2021, but unfortunately, I was unable to take up the offer during that time because of personal reasons. And the reasons that you can defer are actually listed, available, I think, on the website. And once you qualify to get a deferral, then definitely you will get a deferral to the next year. Then I was deferred to the next year. So that is very possible. someone is asking how to create an account. Eunice, how to create an account. Please go to that website and click on, I think it's apply. No, you will have to choose your country of origin, and then it will take you to how to create an account. So if you click on that website that we've posted, you will identify your country, and then it will show you it will prompt you on the next steps. So please visit the website, and then you will go ahead and apply. So there's also another question in respect to Maxwell is asking that his publication is under review. Is it wise to add it? That question is not so clear, but someone can address it.
So there are a lot. And indeed, publications can also work. They are not really a must, but they can also work. There's no hard and fast rule against publications, but I think they can put a much more clearer view of who the applicant is and what they do, and they can, I think, they can differentiate you from the others, but it's not necessarily a must. Like you need to put what's his publications. So if for me, I don't include publications even on my CV, which are still under review, because it can pan out the other way, So it's always, don't have unnecessary explanations like, oh, you put this, but what has happened? Because you bring out questions people can ask later on. So if if it's not yet out there, it's not a conclusive, it's not a done deal, keep it quiet until it's certain. Then you can add it in an official platform, because people have a way of going back to these things, and they'll pluck this out and say, oh, but you said this, what is happening? So if it's not yet fully confirmed, the publication not yet was published, try to avoid adding it.
All right, thank you, Kangwa, for that. Precious, there's a question here in respect to the university options. In a situation where initial deposit is a condition before unconditional offer can be given, how does one handle such a challenge since the unconditional offer is required?
All right. So this would happen when you have been awarded a scholarship. So if you have been awarded a scholarship, right, all you need to do is send your award letter to your school. So every school that is in partnership with Chevening understands the Chevening process, right? So once you write to your school and letting them know that you've been awarded the scholarship, right, you would not be disturbed for any extra or whatever. So the question is, let's get you to that point where you get awarded the scholarship. So once you get awarded, that won't be an issue, right? You wouldn't have to pay anything. Just write to the school and send the school your award letter from Chevening, and then that would not be a problem.
Okay, thank you. I think you've also answered the next one. Nemsoma is asking, in requesting for an application fee waiver, what are those important things that a person should state?
All right. So okay, can I go ahead?
Yeah, please go ahead, because that's in line with the study in the UK.
Yeah, so for every school, and so the question is, why don't you, if you don't have the capacity, let them know your position. I'm not financially stable to make this application, but have passion to actually go ahead for this course because I'm also applying for Chevening scholarship. So give them those reasons why you can't pay, those legit reasons why you can't pay. But diplomatically, you don't just have to say I'm very poor from a very poor background. No, let them know that I'm someone from Nigeria or from Uganda, and currently this is my financial situation. However, I do not want my financial situation to hinder me from applying for this that will be funded by the UK government. Hence, I need this fee waiver. Tell them how passionate you are to still go ahead in applying for this course and what you're currently doing. And I think that is what I also did as well. That was the story I sold as well. And it was waived for me. So you can also do the same thing and let them know your current financial situation and why you still want to push ahead to get this course from this university, how it aligns with your goals and your vision as a person, and how to promote your professional journey in a sense. So these are the things you have to write in your letter, your waiver letter for you to be granted. Yeah. You can also add supporting documents like a proof of what you're currently doing in your community, the university. Like, this is what I'm currently and this is why I really, really need this support from your university to get this course. Yeah, to apply for this course in a sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Precious, for that elaborate explanation. You spoke about the ChatGPT and how people shouldn't opt for that tool to craft their essays. Someone is asking, can they use an online grammar tool to check their essay, or will it be considered plagiarism?
All right, you can actually use. That's okay. Grammar to check know if the tenses are correct, to check if some sentence corrections can be done to some essays, and to paraphrase some words, and give some lyrical structure and the rest of them. Yes, you can do that. That would not be flagged as plagiarism. What would plagiarism? One, you are copying someone else's story and making it yours using some keywords. Now, this is very particular because it happened to some of my mentees last year. I shared my essay with them, and asked them to. I specifically told them, do not copy words for words. Just learn how I structured my thoughts, how I communicated my story to the audience, and then that could influence what you have already. But some of them, copied. They changed the story, but copied some words, some sentences, and they didn't get it. While the other person who did that, who learned from my essay but wrote a different story, a different narrative, got Chevening. She's currently going to be traveling to the UK next week, and that still goes back to tell you that plagiarism is a very big factor. ChatGTP, be very careful with ChatGTP. It could mar your application, and you could succeed. So if you can use ChatGTP and still make it human, you can use ChatGTP to get the structure of your essay, but don't just copy and end with the final ChatGTP responses. Do not. Trust me, that's a flag down for you. Yeah.
Thank you, Precious. James Ebuka is asking about the IELTS waiver application too. Maybe I just need to re-echo that the English exam requirement was removed in 2020, and this year it's not a requirement again for you to apply for the scholarship. Just to also re-emphasize is, whereas Chevening is not requiring you to have the English exam taken, the different universities may require you to take that English exam. I don't know what James exactly is asking there. This particular session is not about the English exam discussion, but there will be future
Let me
presentations.
Let me just answer him quickly.
Okay.
So what James is trying to understand is the structure for IELTS waivers for universities. Now, for IELTS waiver, all you need to tell them is you need to show them proof that you studied in English language. Get a letter from your university, your lecturer, stating the fact that your course, your 4 years course in university was in English, and then in the body of your essay, let them know that you are from an English-speaking country, and then you have over 10 years work experience, and all has been done in English, so you are qualified. You understand English, and it's more like a mother tongue for you. So it's more like you're expressing your proficiency in IELTS and letting them know how proficient you are. And I think that would serve. It works for me. And some university might say, okay, you know what? We're going to scrap IELTS for you, but you're going to take an in-house examination to test your English language skills. That you can opt for that as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. There's a question for you, Kangwa, here. Would it be okay if someone included all your roles and awards achieved in those roles and just chose one role among them where you showed leadership using the star?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Quite an interesting question, though. But
Maybe before you go ahead,
yeah.
I just need to remind that person that particular experience shall be already covered in his work experience, really. And the reader, the reading committee said, don't duplicate your work experience in the essays. You can go ahead, Mr. Kangwa.
I think what Agatha has said is much more. Is answering it, I think, much better than what I would say. I think. So the thing is that you have a component where you put your experiences, you write your work experience, what you do, and all the other things. For the essay, you're looking at, it's not the experience they are looking at. They are looking at specific things that you did, even if in a specific job or role you played, but specific things you did which exemplified your leadership skills. That's what they're looking for. So they're not looking at roles like you say, oh, I'm a bank manager. I do this, I do that. No. They're looking at, okay, you can say, oh, in my line of work as a bank manager, there was this time, right? There was this time where there was A, B, C, D, and I needed to solve this or rise to the occasion for me to tackle this challenge. So it's a specific situation which showed that you are a leader. Being in a role doesn't necessarily culminate in leadership, and I think most times we tend to think these two are synonymous, but they are not. So you can be a manager, but you do not necessarily have the leadership skills. So they're looking at, did you actually actualize your leadership potential, even in a role you have put forward? So it doesn't necessarily have to be in the one of the roles you have put in your job, but if you have any, well and good. Then I think I can also move into I can try and answer this question here on the cap. The last time I checked, the cap is only on MBAs. So usually MBAs have got a limit on the fees. On the other courses, they do not have any fees, unless otherwise. But any other course apart from MBAs, there are no caps on the fees.
Yeah, that's correct. And the cap is 22,000 pounds.
For this time, there are changes in the school fees this coming academic year. Unless,
yeah. That's right there. Thanks again, everybody, for your questions. We have tried to address as many questions as we could. Someone had a question in respect to, they're just a recent graduate, and they wanted to know if they should apply. Let me get that question, but anyone can try and answer that. they are recent graduate and they want to know if they qualify to apply.
Let me try. Okay, so for recent graduates, what they're looking for is not necessarily full-time work experience, and it's not just work experience. Even voluntary work is considered as work. So what you need to understand is how you frame your experience. So I think what is very important is how you frame your experience. It doesn't need to be full-time work, 8 hours a day, even part-time work you did in your undergrad. I know there are some students who do tutoring. There are others who work elsewhere, not necessarily in the university, but they can work elsewhere. That is also considered as experience. So if you can document it and it's verifiable, you can put it up. So when they say, I think there's even somebody who was asked about, is it 50 weeks? So that means having 50 weeks per year. This is not necessarily, if you multiply 50 weeks by 40, a normal working hour, a normal working week is about 40 hours. So 50 weeks by 40 gets to how much? Gets to 2,000. So if you've worked for 50 weeks in a year, you have the minimum experience of 2,000 hours. But usually you don't work for 50 weeks a year. It's a little bit less than that. So if you look at 2 years, you'll be looking at most people. If you work for 2 years, you would have already achieved the 2,000 hour required. So it's not necessary that the scholarship is not looking at disqualifying fresh graduates. I think what they want is somebody who has an experience in the field. So any experience is encouraged. They are not looking at, because I think there are quite a number of scholarships which kind of do not look at the aspect of experience. They're just looking at the grades. So here I think there's an emphasis also on experience. And I think what else is more important than actually being in the industry and communicating and seeing, I think that's what is vital for this. I think that's where you can actually even see the leadership experience as well.
Now, you can go ahead and answer that as well. If self-employment can be used as work experience.
Yeah.
And
so
then,
yes. So even self-experience can be considered as experience. The key word is it verifiable? Can somebody, if I had to call and say, okay, you were doing this, can you verify it that you actually did this? Not that everyone will call, but it should be something which is making sense. Like you do this, you do that, and you do that. It doesn't really mean that if it's very easy for somebody to say, I worked for myself, but sometimes it's not so much easily believable. But is it something which is easily believable and verifiable? Can you sell it that you did this actually? I think who else what if someone doesn't have any work experience? I would say try as much as, even internship is considered as work experience. Even internship is considered a work experience. Try as much as possible to have the working experience. Try as much as possible to have the work experience.
Okay. Thank you, Kango. As we wind up really today's discussion, I want just to highlight a few things, but also address this question about this person who applied before and didn't actually get in. When you hear really various testimonies of people that have applied for Chevening, you realize that a majority of them did not actually get it on their first attempt. Some have been lucky to get the scholarship on the first attempt, but not everybody. Therefore, I would encourage you to apply again this year. And yes, you can still use the admission that you got from last year because you've mentioned that you had deferred it. what you need to take into account is go to the Chevening website and look at the specific comments about, especially there's a title of where did I go wrong on my Chevening application. Look at that and look at the feedback from the reading committees on the different essays, and then put in a stronger essay come this year. And what I would also add to that is many people give up on the first attempt. But really, sometimes the second time or the third try or the fourth try is the charm that you need to actually get this scholarship. Personally, I applied several times before I was awarded. And so I would encourage someone out there that applied last year, didn't get. This is a new year, and I hope that you go back and review your essays that you put in last year. After reviewing your essays, I hope that throughout the year you have been gathering new experience, new improvements on yourself to put in a winning essay. And if you believe that you are the right candidate for this particular scholarship, your essays should speak to that. And there's no way you would not be awarded if you've followed the advice that different people have given and that different people will keep giving. I think we should give our parting shots at this point. Precious, I would like to invite you to give your parting shots to our listeners.
I'm on the backstage.
You are.
Okay.
We can hear you. Your parting shots.
Yeah, my parting shot would be appeal to the emotions of your reader and get them logically to connect with your school of thoughts. It's okay to tell your story, but in a concise manner, right? And let your story flow. Let your story flow from the leadership essay down to the down to your after your career plan essay. There should be a cohesion around your essay. So if you can achieve that, I believe that you will get Chevening. And even if you don't get Chevening, right, I would still advise you to still put in your best, keep on trying, and keep on understanding where you are not getting the right path. And I believe that with God, for me, I believe in God. I prayerfully submitted my essay, and God did it. So if you believe in whatever God you're serving, as a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, whatever God you believe in, you add him into the equation, and tell him to help you, because sometimes I still imagine how I got Chevening. And I believe that, yes, I'm doing something great in my industry, but I feel, I'm not the best. Because I got, during my interview, I saw a lot of persons who were doctors, who were lawyers, who were professionals. Like, they have done so much than I have in my industry. But we were only two who were selected in my field, and I think the place of God and grace plays in as well. So while you're putting your best, telling your story the right way, adding logic and emotions, right, to your essay, also pray to God of grace to help you make your reader and your essay stand out. Yeah, that's my parting word. Thank you.
Amen.
Thanks, Precious. Thank you, Precious. Kangwa, your parting shots.
Yeah. So one thing I would start is maybe a scare factor. So I would say it is very hard getting the scholarship. It requires a lot from you. But one thing I believe that if you have the desire to succeed, it's very doable. because once you have the desire, you will reach out. And I think Chevening does this. This is one of the things they do very well: mentorship. You will reach out to the people who can help you make it possible. You will also go out of the way to make it possible for yourself. So, first things, believe in yourself. Like Precious has said, if you pray, you pray. Then put in the work. Put in the work, and most of all, have the desire to succeed. Have the desire to succeed. Once these 4 components are in, I think traveling is a walkover. Yeah, you will get discouraged if you don't get it the first time, but like Agatha has said, sometimes the second charm is the second or third charm or the 6th charm. Is it the 6th time? Is a charm, you know. So it's
Yes.
works different for different people. Others they'll hit it the first time, others the second time, others the third time. I've seen people who have done it 4 times. But really, what I've known is that it's really worth it, right? It's really worth it. I think it's one of those scholarships which it's a lifetime. It changes. It changes a lot in your life. And one thing you need to understand about scholarships: remember that somebody's giving you free money, right? Free money for close to £50,000. Seriously, you need to work for it. So the desire, there's nothing special about any of us who have gotten this scholarship. I think it's just having the desire and working extra hard to get it. I think if it takes you a year to prepare, take a year. If it takes you 2 years to prepare, take 2 years. Don't need to worry about the semantics and how somebody else did it. What you need to know is how long can it take you to get it. And once you've gotten to that stage, then work towards getting it. Yeah.
Thank you, Kangwa. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And finally, there is just a few reminders. When do you have to apply, and when do you apply for the UK universities? That timelines are there on the website. The website has been posted both in the comment section, but it's also running on your screen. You must apply for the scholarship between 12th September and 7th November, and this is all on the Chevening website. You don't have to pay any money to apply for Chevening. On your Chevening application, you'll be asked to select the 3 universities, as we have ably explained. These 3 courses are at 3 different universities. You have to apply now. Don't wait for when you are awarded to apply, because universities also have deadlines. The date when you apply for your chosen university courses will depend on the deadline of those courses. Different universities have different deadlines. You'll find those deadlines on those specific university course web pages. What is important is you should have secured at least one unconditional offer from a UK university by 11th July 2024 in order for you to take your scholarship. My parting shots really are: don't wait until the 7th or the 6th of November to actually put in your application. I know some people really love last minute adrenaline. You want to put in your application on the last minute. Don't attempt fate, because that's when everybody is trying to put in the application on the last minute. So sometimes the portal actually does crash, and you don't want to be, or maybe in your country the network could be off on that last day. You don't know. So please don't wait for the last day. Start working on your essays and put in your application at least 3 days. At least 3 days to the final date. Thank you so much for joining us again. We want to thank the audience on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter for joining in. There shall be more discussions and conversations on how to put in a successful application. Please keep on the lookout. And again, like Precious said, if you believe in a God, like some of us do, in addition to putting in your application, add some prayer to that. And then anything is possible. We wish you the very best in your application. Feel free to reach out to us on our Twitter handles, on our LinkedIn. We are available really to support anybody that wants support. We see your question, Maxon, asking if anyone could review your SAS. People are available. Reach out to Kangwa, reach out to Precious, reach out to myself as well. We are ready to support you on this journey. Please, can we share? We share the social media platforms so that people can reach out? People are asking, Kangwa, you can type your details so that we share with people, as well as Precious. Please share in the chat so that we share with everybody. Thanks once again for joining in. We really appreciate for you sparing your time. We're going to share the social media platform handles for these good people that are kind enough to review essays. Kangwa and Precious, I'm waiting on you to share those details so that we can.
I'm coming.
Okay.
Just a minute. There is one who was asking, I think he has a problem with the deadlines. He's applying for public health. I think he has.
Oh yes.
The September entry. I know that most universities now are having two streams, September and January, and I think Commonwealth, Chevening, only takes in September ones. But there should be quite a number. There are quite a number of universities offering public health. Is he okay with sharing which university applied to?
Let's as we do that, let's share the handles for people to contact privately. Thank you. I've received that one. Let me share it. Okay, thank you. That's been received. That's been received as well. Thank you, Precious. So we've shared the handles right there. Please feel free to reach out to any of the people that have moderated the session and shared their experiences. And then finally, for Kangwa, it's right here. Okay. There's no other question. Please feel free to leave the Thank you, everybody. We shall keep on sharing more contacts on the YouTube channel. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you so much. Kangwa, thank you so much. Precious, thank you. Matilda, for bringing us all together. Have a good night.